Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. So, what does Kamala Harris decide to do uh, in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene? Not go on to the front lines. She only went to a particular, I think it's a Georgian or somewhere in Georgia for a photo opportunity for a short period of time. Then she was out the door straight away, like not very long at all. And she also announced a $750 relief package from FEMA, I believe it is. And she announced so many other things that she's going to do, apparently, to help the poor victims of Hurricane Helene, except actually give them what they need, like actual assistance, actual aid. And by the way, Trump was the first person on the scene to help those devastated victims and their families and homes and all that sort of stuff. And one of the things that I find really distressing and disturbing uh, in the wake of Hurricane Helene is all the animals. Like, I'm a huge animal lover, and a lot of them would have been displaced. A lot of them would have lost their lives. And it's just a huge, huge tragedy. And the death toll is rising at the moment over in North Carolina, especially. So, what does Kamala Harris decide to do instead of, going to North Carolina and helping out the people there and showing your support? You are running for president. Now I'm going to go on a podcast, an easy podcast where I know that the host is rather biased towards me, called Call Her Daddy. Yeah, this is a S-based podcast. I think you guys can read between the lines there because, I can't actually say the word here because I will get, what? I mean, I can't believe you can't actually say things nowadays on this platform. It is becoming rather frustrating and infuriating. So we'll get to the moment where Kamala Harris goes on Call Her Daddy and she's asked why she decided to go on there, and you can listen to her word salad answer. But just so we are fully aware, this is the same Kamala Harris, the same administration who is running for president, once again, the Democratic Party, Democratic nominee. And instead of actually giving the people what they really need, which is a great deal of money to be able to rebuild and support themselves and give them supplies and everything like that. So this year alone, the United States has given $24 billion to Ukraine, $11.3 billion to Israel, $1.9 billion to Ethiopia. I didn't know about that. $1.6 billion to Jordan, $1.4 billion to Egypt, $1.1 billion to Afghanistan, $1.1 billion to Somalia, $1 billion to Yemen, $987 million to the Congo, and $896 million to Syria, 9,000 per illegal immigrant that has entered the US, and Americans who have lost everything to Hurricane Helene will be getting $750 courtesy of FEMA, because apparently there's been a lot of misinformation and disinformation surrounding what's been going on in FEMA, and they want to set the record straight, people. So FEMA says that they've got enough money, but yet why is $750 the only they say it's the initial amount, right? So it's not the full amount they're going to be receiving. We don't know the full amount they're going to be receiving, ladies and gentlemen. We only know they're going to get $750. And what does Kamala Harris do not that long after? Oh, so it was the 5th of October. She said this: the people of Lebanon are facing an increasingly dire humanitarian situation. I am concerned about the security and well-being of civilians suffering in Lebanon and will continue working to help meet the needs of all civilians there. Yeah, no, I'll keep working to help them, but I won't continue to help working on my own citizens. To that end, the United States will provide nearly $157 million in additional assistance to the people of Lebanon for essential needs such as food, shelter, water, protection, and sanitation to help those who are being displaced for the recent conflict. This additional support brings the total U.S. assistance to Lebanon over the last year to $385 million. But yet, you know what? We're only going to give $750 to the displaced victims of Hurricane Helene. Sure, why not look after your own? You're not. And that's what's despicable and horrible about this. Read the bloody room, Kamala Harris. She announced this on October 5th. couple of days ago. So Hurricane Helene wasn't that long ago at all. And these displaced victims, how do you think they're going to be feeling? You know, they've got this presidential candidate, and you know what she's going to do? Don't worry, guys, you're going to get assistance, $750. Here you go. But yet to Lebanon and people overseas, not even your own countrymen, get a few $1 million to help support. And what else does Kamala Harris decide to do instead of actually helping out the people of Hurricane Helene in North Carolina? She goes on Call Her Daddy, a podcast, and it doesn't go too well. So have a watch of the first clip. Kamala recently joined the raunchy SEX podcast Call Her Daddy to discuss what they call women's rights. We know that women don't actually have many rights in the world today because of the transgender movement. But we'll get to that in another video. So have a watch of this.
I'm curious, like, you don't do too many long form interviews. What made you want to do Call Her Daddy today?
Well, I think you and your listeners have really got this thing right, which is one of the best ways to communicate with people is to be real, you know, and to talk about the things that people really care about. I mean, what I love about what you do is that your voice in your show is really about your listeners. And I think especially now, this is a moment in the country and in life where people really want to know they're seen and heard and that they're part of a community, that they're not out there alone. And so I'm really glad to be with you.
Now, personally, I have not listened to Call Her Daddy, but you can tell by the name, Call Her Daddy, you can obviously imagine what it's going to be like. And the person that does the show is probably one of the most famous podcasters around. This show is huge, people. A lot of people listen to this podcast. And so a lot of them happen to be of the left-leaning persuasion, I'll have you know. So because of that, Kamala Harris has gone, oh, fantastic, a safe podcast. I'm going to go on there. She's not doing any hard-form interviews at all. And the host, Alexandra, whatever the hell her name is, she's asking really softball questions. I mean, let's lean into this, shall we? Why did you decide to come on my show? Why did you decide to come on Call Her Daddy? Now, I'm a podcaster, right? The first question that I ask all my guests is not, why did you decide to come on my show? Because evidently I'm the one inviting them on the show. The first question I normally ask them is a relatively deep question. That usually gets the conversation going. But her, why did you decide to come on my show today? Oh, let me give you a fluffy answer. So all your listeners are going to love this because I'm Kamala Harris, man. I'm one of the real ones. Oh, my goodness, man. Honestly. And one of the things that your listeners do really well, or your show does really well, is it's all about your listeners. Yeah, right. Okay. So if it was really about her listeners, then why in the world is she getting an absolute mozza? She's paid a lot of money to look after her so-called fans and her listeners. Yeah, there's that. But anyway, you know, the thing is, SEX sells. We all know that. And going on a podcast all about that, seemingly as the vice president and the now running candidate for president, doesn't really go in good taste and good favor. But nevertheless, you're on a left-leaning podcast. It's going to ask you some very softball questions, including women's rights issues like the abortion topic and all these other questions that Kamala Harris loves to lie through the skin of her teeth. I have not caught her saying one truth yet. I don't know about you, but I haven't found one truth. Maybe someone can correct me in the comments below, but I haven't been able to find one thing she said that's truthful because you know why? She goes after Trump a lot. She goes after that man. You know why? Because she doesn't like him. She thinks that he is a threat to democracy. She's trying to win the presidential race on feeling and emotion and are based on disdain for the other candidate. And if she wins, God help us all. Good grief. So there's this other clip that you all need to see. And it's about tampons. Why has this got to do? What has this got to do with helping the people that have been affected by Hurricane Helene, or the people that actually want to know about the economic plan that you've somehow got, the opportunity economy, that thing? I saw a video, by the way, if you're interested. Patrick Bet David from Valuetainment created it about Kamala Harris' economic plan. And she doesn't really have much of a plan, but the so-called plan that she's got would devastate the actual economy. Not that it's already, it's sunshine and rainbows at the moment, because it actually is significantly devastated. But yeah, if she gets in, goodbye economy. But have a watch of this.
Daddy gang, to put it in our TikTok terms, I have seen girls on the street walk up to men and be like, do you know where a tampon goes? Do you know how many tampons we use? Do you even know how, do you know what a X or Y or Z is of a part of our, and they don't know the answer.
I was the first vice president or president to ever in office go to a reproductive health care clinic, ever.
Isn't Kamala wonderful? She's the first vice president, first president to visit an abortion center, an abortion clinic, or a healthcare clinic for women. Just absolutely outstanding. Solid behavior. Meanwhile, your candidate for vice president put tampons in the men's bathroom. Fantastic. Well done. Great going, Tim. Anyway, my friends, you guys take care. Be blessed. And I'll see you all in the next video.